Guys, this is unreal. Oh my god. Hey, what's up guys, this is KDCloudy, and as you probably already know, I got to attend the fan screening premiere event of the Odyssey at PVR IMAX Phoenix Palladium, Lower Parel, Mumbai. It was completely a surreal experience from start to finish. I was traveling from Bangalore to Mumbai, functioning 15 hours without any sleep, but it was all worth it. The thing about the whole event was how world class it felt. Brand new barricade setups, posters, the vibe was different and you could totally feel it. We got in, we got ourselves registered, and then they gave us a bunch of cool stuff. This lanyard, for example, which was basically our entry pass. I'm gonna treasure this forever. We got also a tote bag full of goodies, a poster which is stuck right here, some collectible cards of the Odyssey. If you can see these right here, these are really high quality printed and official posters of the Odyssey. And we also got this ticket stub, which is so damn cool, with our seat numbers on it and these perforated edges. It's so damn high quality, so cool. And honestly, I have never really experienced something like this in India. I've gotten goodies and posters when I was in Thailand, China, and Japan as well, watching movies, but never before in India. But the best part is, this wasn't really the end of it. This PVR, of course, is multi-storied, and when we got our goodies at the first floor, we headed to the third floor, which is the IMAX, and right over there we had another surprise waiting for us.
Please walk this way.
Yes, sir.
Please pick up those tubs, fill it up with the popcorn
Wow.
and cola. Gates will open at 2:45.
Oh my god. We just got the IMAX popcorn tub. This was so unexpected. These things cost like $60. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, dude. How am I gonna take this back home?
It's worth every penny.
Shit. And of course, as you might know if you've seen my stories and reels, we got this limited edition IMAX MSM camera popcorn bucket. And I was so elated when I received this. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. And right here, even in front of this camera, it looks so cool. It's so high quality. I mean, it is a toy, but you know, you can see the details. You can see all these details on the viewfinder and stuff. And if you look through the viewfinder, you can actually see a frame of the movie. This is really awkward, but this is such a cool piece of merchandise to have as an IMAX fan. You guys know that. This was totally unexpected and probably one of the biggest highlights for me for this event. So thank you so much to the organizers who decided to give one away to each and every attendee. And this was quite amazing. I feel bad about having popcorn from this because it's just so precious. But yeah, I washed it and cleaned it, and I am gonna, you know, display it as a treasured collectible in my house forever. Now, after we got this, we entered the screening as they were still setting up, and we waited, and I entered PVR IMAX Lower Parel for the third time. This was my third movie at this particular venue. This is of course 62 feet wide, outfitted with IMAX's flagship commercial laser projector with unparalleled contrast, one of two in India. But yeah, as everyone got seated, it was showtime, and all 400 of us were going to witness the Odyssey for the first time in India, and we were also going to become some of the first people in the world to watch this film a week ahead of release. Okay, so how was the movie? Now, I usually don't do this. I never give my opinions on the movie, especially on camera. I always do that on Letterboxd or on a tweet. But I figured, I mean, it's worth the occasion. I really enjoyed this film. Now, if I'm being very honest, I wasn't very keen on the trailers to the point that I didn't even watch the last trailer. Here's the thing, no trailer will ever be able to encapsulate the intensity and suspend your disbelief the way a full-length Nolan movie does. And this movie is quite different from any other Nolan film while still having a lot of Nolan's hallmarks. This wasn't an intense or a complex layered screenplay or plot as maybe Tenet or Oppenheimer or Interstellar. this was quite a simple and straightforward story. In fact, the first 30 minutes or so do feel quite slow as it's setting up the world and introducing the characters. But once Matt Damon shows up, when all the characters are introduced and once the story unfolds and the movie progresses, you can sense that this is a mythological epic reimagined in a very beautifully, in a very somber manner. And let me reiterate, this was Matt Damon's show through and through, and it's always a pleasure seeing him on screen. Anne Hathaway and Robert Pattinson are excellent at what they do. You have to see the movie to understand what I'm talking about. And one of my underrated picks is Himesh Patel. I loved him in Tenet and Yesterday, one of my favorite movies, and it was so good to see him on the big screen. He did some amazing job. And Tom Holland, I loved his performance, but I just hoped he did a little more action, but you know, I'll watch Spider-Man for that. It's got elements of horror mixed in between, which makes me wonder how would a horror movie from Nolan would feel like. It was quite refreshing. And while watching the movie, there were several moments where I thought that this is basically a culmination of all of Nolan's movies. There were certain scenes which reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, of Interstellar. There were certain bits of score which were remnants of Tenet. So, I mean, it definitely feels like a culmination. I cannot wait to watch it again. And I didn't even mention the peak cinema moment is the entire third act. The entire third act is a roller coaster of emotions. You know, you feel, you know, excited, hyped up, full of adrenaline, and you know, you will tear up at the end. So those were my opinions on the movie, but what about the technical aspects? Now this seems like a good segue to the usage of IMAX in this movie. Now I haven't watched this movie in 1570 or 143 just yet, so take my opinion with a grain of salt, but this doesn't change the fact that this movie was completely shot on 15% IMAX film, through and through, pure analog celluloid film. And with a 1.43 open matte master, it was cropped down to 1.9, 185, 2.2 and 2.39:1 for different formats and different screen sizes. So for the first time ever, a Nolan film can actually be experienced in a taller aspect ratio regardless of the theater. So you can theoretically go to any premium large format theater, non-IMAX branded, and if they have a 185 or a 1.90 screen, they will be able to project this movie in a taller aspect ratio, which is super cool and makes the whole, you know, taller aspect ratio more accessible outside of IMAX branded theaters. Now I've said this before and I will say it again, anything shot on IMAX film has so much resolution, so much color data, everything, that once you make DCPs out of that source material, I mean, even those DCPs are really sharp because of oversampling. So if you get to go to an IMAX, I think that's great. But if you have access to a PLF with a flat screen like PCX or a PVR PXL, and if the projection is good, with PCX it often is, you're gonna get a damn good experience, as good or maybe even better than IMAX. Now the PVR lower parallel IMAX is 1.9, so the whole movie which we saw was completely 1.90:1. Which is personally weird for me because this is the first Nolan movie with a constant aspect ratio since inception. Previous Nolan films like the ones lined up behind me, they use alternating aspect ratios. More often than not, he will use a letterbox aspect ratio for quieter dialogue scenes, usually shot on 35mm or 5% 65mm. And for the epic set pieces, he will go full screen, usually either 1.9, 178 or 143:1. And I've always associated that as a storytelling trick, even though he uses this, you know, alternating aspect ratios as a choice of the format or the camera he's using. When it's quieter dialogue scenes, you're laid back. Once it's full screen IMAX, you're paying more attention. But this movie was through and through in a single 1.90 full screen IMAX aspect ratio. So the quieter dialogue scenes, the large establishing shots, or the big set pieces, everything in that singular aspect ratio. Now, while I do miss the switching aspect ratios from previous Nolan films, it's worth noting that the singular aspect ratio for the Odyssey fits quite well because of the theme and because of how somber this movie is. I'm just not context switching anymore depending on the aspect ratio or being distracted by it. I was just through and through locked in into the film, and I think it really, you know, fit the occasion and the theme of this movie. And I do personally think that after 1.43:1 in a towering giant IMAX screen, I think 185:1 is the default choice of experiencing this film. Also, talking about the projection and sound, I think just for this event, I think IMAX Tech flew in all the way from Canada or LA to recalibrate and reset up everything, and I could feel it. The sound was fantastic. I mean, I hadn't experienced bass and thump like that, such tight bass and clean bass in an IMAX movie. Your seat is vibrating and it was just so good. It did feel quite loud, but that's because I was just too close to the screen. I was in the third row. My FOV, my field of view, wasn't quite as compromised because the screen is a little behind, so I could see the entire picture at a pretty decent angle. And speaking of the projection, the commercial laser projection is absolutely amazing, and some of the scenes in the Odyssey were so dark yet so well represented without murky blacks, and some scenes were so rich and the colors just really pop out of the screen, and I was just really impressed by the fidelity of this projection system. However, I did think the DCP was just a little soft. I was expecting just a little more sharpness. Oppenheimer still remains to be the sharpest image I've ever seen in an IMAX, which was in PVR Priya back in 2023. So maybe it was because I was too close to the screen and I could see each and every detail, but it was fantastic AV experience nevertheless. But enough about the movie. The biggest highlight of this entire experience, this entire event, this entire trip was that at the end of the screening, Mr. Christopher Nolan himself, his wife and producer Emma Thomas, and of course stars Matt Damon and Tom Holland were present themselves at the screening. And no, he did not say how blasphemous it was that we were watching his film on a 4K digital medium. All of them said nice things about India, which was very nice to hear. How Nolan shot The Dark Knight Rises in Jodhpur and Tenet in Mumbai, and how they were really glad about launching a film for the first time in India.
Thousands and thousands of people really pushing themselves and each other to make this happen so that you could see it this way, filmed entirely in IMAX, and we're just so happy that you like it, and we're so happy to be here.
Thank you. Tom?
Hi everyone. I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for always welcoming us with such open arms, with so much happiness and excitement and grace and love. I think no one brings an energy to a movie theatre like you do here in India. So thank you for supporting us. Thank you for enjoying Chris's amazing work. And I cannot wait for this movie to be seen by everyone. Thank you.
I really just want to say thank you to everybody in this room for giving us such an amazing welcome. We love being in India, and this is such a privilege. It was a privilege to get to make this film. It was a privilege to get to work with these incredible actors and all the talented crew that were on the movie and cast. But
it's the first time we've had the chance to launch a film here. So you are amongst the first audiences in the world to see this film. By the way, did you like the film? So just a quick, who was better, Matt or Tom? Indeterminate. They're both fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for welcoming us. It's always a thrill to be in India. Once in Mumbai. Every time we come here, it's very, very special. For many years, I've wanted to come here and launch one of our films.
I genuinely cannot comprehend or digest or process how surreal this really was. Just like, and I was in the front rows. They were quite like, I mean, maybe 10 to 12 feet away from me. It won't really be an overstatement to say that Nolan is the reason why I make these videos, why I'm even interested in film and technology and IMAX and theaters. So it was, I mean, it felt like a full circle moment. All of it really began 3 years ago when I made these videos on Oppenheimer, the format guide, on Instagram and on YouTube, and they really took off. The growth of this channel and the cinema experience I've had in the past 3 years can all be pretty much attributed back to Nolan himself. I even started collecting physical media. This Dark Knight 4K disc back there was the first 4K disc I ever bought. I mean, this whole experience was just so layered. I mean, we got this, we got the merch, we watched the movie before anyone else, and the makers of the movie were right in front of us. Wow, even I'm getting chills right now as I'm talking about it. Like, this was one hell of an experience, one of the best days of my life, 10 July 2026. And I mean, huge thanks to Mr. Denzel Diaz and the whole team at Universal Pictures India for making this happen. That's basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will have a lot of exciting videos about the Odyssey, of me watching them in different other formats. So please don't make the mistake of not subscribing to this channel and not watching the Odyssey on the big screen. That's basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.